Hey everybody, how you doing today? Finally get a day off. It does happen. Day to myself, walking my little pug. Yeah, say hi, buddy. Hey, buddy boy. Come on, buddy. Let's go. The coronavirus. It's what everybody's talking about. It's everywhere. It's everything we're talking about. I haven't had an opportunity to look at the news this morning, and it's Saturday, so things are typically pretty quiet on Saturday. I know that the Liberal government has stated that they want to do some kind of stimulus package in order to help people, not corporations, people, which would be an extremely rare thing for a... that's okay, buddy. That's okay. Come on. Come on. Sorry, bud. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Oy vey. Lots of people out with their dogs, of course, just like me, because there's nothing else to do. The Liberal government has said that they are going to do some kind of stimulus to help average normal people. We'll see about that. I'm extremely skeptical. I'm skeptical of this government. I'm skeptical of the Liberals as they say they're going to help normal, ordinary people, because they've never actually done that. All of their decisions are done to present the facade of helping people, while in reality their interests lie completely in helping their corporate owners and donors, right? Like, the one half-decent thing that they've done while in office has been the legalization of marijuana, i.e. the legalization of a plant that should never have been made legal in the first place, and should have been re-legalized the year it was made illegal, such is the insipid stupidity of our leadership. And of course it was legalized completely to add some kind of legitimacy, a small, almost imperceptible shred of legitimacy to the cue card reading Justin Trudeau, who has no ideas, who doesn't have thoughts, who doesn't actually care about the people around him. He just reads cue cards, goes home, sits in a palace that he was groomed to sit in. So the proof, of course, in the pudding for the legalization of marijuana is that they didn't pardon anybody. The pardon system that they put in was merely a facade. It's a bureaucratic knot that people who are in jail for minor possession and minor marijuana-related crimes can't actually get through. And the proof is that nobody's actually being pardoned. There's been something like 60 or 70 pardons, when passing just a blanket pardon would be easy. It'd be a one-line sentence to pass through the parliament. Could do it in 5 minutes, take no time whatsoever. Especially at the time when they had the majority. But that they don't actually care about the people. They're interested in passing legislation to help their corporate buddies. Which is exactly what the legalization system here in Canada facilitates. It facilitates big business taking control of the marijuana system in order to monopolize it, and then sell to the public something that they have always had access to. And so I don't have any faith whatsoever in this government when they stand up and say, we're going to pass a stimulus package that's actually going to help Canadians. I'll be very surprised. I'll believe it when I see it. And honestly, I feel like even if they do pass some kind of legislation, the great absurdity, this is my prediction for these Liberals, the great absurdity will be that what they will fundamentally pass, they're going to give money to families. They're going to give money to regular people who need to not go to work, right? So you're passing a basic income. You're just doing it temporarily. So you're passing something that absolutely works, that everybody knows works, that alleviates a lot of social problems, creates a lot more social cohesion, actually functions as a policy, removes the bureaucracy from the situation, gives the resources directly to the people who need it, and you're only going to do that temporarily because you understand that capitalism fails in times of crises that it itself generates. And so the thing to do is to pass programs that work when capitalism fails, instead of simply passing legislation that works and getting rid of this bullshit capitalism system that fails every 10 years. Or earlier. I mean, I make the argument that capitalism fails on a day-to-day basis. You wake up, you go to a place that you can barely tolerate to do a job that's either meaningless or harmful, to get a paycheck from people you'll never meet, who do not care about you, and the second that they feel that they can make more money by getting rid of you, they will. I mean, that's a failed system. That's a system that doesn't function. That's a system that has commodified your life, that treats you as a commodity, and puts only the only value that you have is the labor that you produce for them. Anything that you do in your own spare time, anything that you do outside of generating wealth for capitalists is worthless, and you're lazy for doing it. So this, I feel like the coronavirus is really revealing. Like, in truth, like, the coronavirus is extremely contagious, which is the major concern. It's extremely contagious. But its mortality rate is 3% if you're over the age of 60. It goes up, of course, if you have health concerns and things like this. And absolutely, we should be taking all of these precautions. Absolutely. I think about my own parents. You know, I think about them. They're over the age of 60. They're 65 plus. And if there was even a 1% chance that this disease would come through and that they would die because of it, I would be insisting that we take every possible precaution. And I insist to them that they take every possible precaution. And so a rate of 3%, of course, raises the stakes quite high. And so I'm not going to stand here and deny anything about this coronavirus. I think the NHL canceled their season. The NBA canceled their season. The Junos have been canceled. Flights are being canceled. People are treating this very seriously as a health crisis. And what it reveals, and what it should, the talking point we should be talking about first and foremost is, isn't it interesting how the moment there's a serious crisis where life and death is on the line for the general populace, i.e. a pandemic, we abandon capitalism. Capitalism fails, as it always does consistently. And we pick up systems that progressives and socialists have been banging on for decades. Like, when the liberals pass this legislation, if the socialists and if the left have a brain in their head, they're going to be saying, why aren't we doing this all the time? What are you talking about? Hey, how you doing? Oh, that's okay, buddy. I know. It's a dog with a ball. It's a dog with a ball. I know. It's very scary for you. I understand. My little guy likes to bark. I like to bark too, so what am I doing right here, right? Barking at the wind. But gotta do something. Hey, buddy. How you doing today, buddy boy? Lots of dogs out today, yeah. Internet's slow right now, as you can well imagine. Everybody is on the internet right now, so makes good sense. Hey, how you doing today, buddy? Got dogs everywhere. I'm not showing you their dogs because I don't have permission to do that, so I'll show you my dog. Have a good one. That's a good boy. That's how you do it. You don't need to bark at every single thing that moves. So the coronavirus, as it as it spreads, as it becomes a more serious concern, as more serious steps are taken, I don't want to just keep going on in circles. I feel like I'm banging on the drum. Like, all of the systems that we put in place to fight the coronavirus are systems that should simply be in place. We should pass a basic income. We should de-fetter the needs of the populace from this rapacious group of capitalists who do not care. Because this is actually a relatively minor issue. I'm glad that we're taking the steps that we're taking. I'm glad that we're treating it seriously. But it is a relatively minor concern, ultimately, from a systemic point of view. A 3% death rate among people who are over the age of 60, while concerning, and we should absolutely do everything about it, does not dislocate the entire populace. Like, let's say, climate change has been doing across the globe. It's not like a famine. It's not like a major natural disaster that has major ramifications immediately amongst the populace. People will get sick. Things will slow down. It's all understandable. But there are worse things that populations have dealt with. And look at the crisis that has occurred because of a certainly a pandemic, but a low threat to the society as a whole. And look at how that's created disaster. Look at how it's revealed the incompetence, the inaction, the inability of capitalism to deal with even the most low level of difficulties. And this is the exact same thing that happened during the New Orleans crisis in the United States. Whenever a hurricane comes through, knocks out infrastructure, capitalism does the same thing. It jacks up the price of the necessary tools needed to combat the crisis. It exploits the desperation of the people, and it excludes people who can't afford it. This is exactly the opposite of how we should be dealing with any kind of crisis. A society that abandons, if you're a person who gets abandoned by the society during times of crises, then you were never actually part of the society. You are a second-class citizen, if that's the case. And more than that, you owe no allegiance to the society that does this to you. A society that removes its responsibility, that abandons you during periods of crises, is not a society you owe fealty to. It's nothing. You don't owe anything to it. And when you come to that realization, you begin to realize that the way you're acting in the society is being more or less dictated through threat and force of violence. That you can't just walk into a grocery store and walk out with groceries. There are crimes for that. So if you starve in the street and die, the society doesn't care about that. That's fine. You can go ahead with that. We'll be willing to erect systems that are incredibly inefficient, that waste a ton of resources, that waste everyone's time, and that is a real stain on the consciousness of our society, like food banks. Food banks should not exist. There's no reason for them to exist. In a society as wealthy as ours, as a society as well established as ours, there should be no food banks. And I'm not just saying that as a out there kind of statement. That comes directly from the food banks. The people running and operating the food banks are calling for basic income because they understand that food banks are an inefficient and irrelevant way of doing this. And yet we rely on them. We rely on them to do something that should have been solved 50, 60 years ago. But we've been caught in this ideological insanity, which ironically comes out of the group who should be most against it. You can't clutch a Bible and say we should abandon people in the society at the same time. Not if you want to be a rational thinking individual, not if you want to have a brain in your head, not if you want to be intellectually intelligent. Intellectually intelligent. Perfect. That's the perfect thing to say right there. Not if you want to be consistent, not if you want to be taken seriously, not if you want to maintain credibility. Credibility, not if you want to be intellectually credible. These people who demand that everybody do their own individual thing, that everybody treat the life as a race and we're all competing against one another as individuals. You can have that ideology of death, chaos, and destruction if you'd like, but if the second you pick up the Bible and you start pretending like you're knowledgeable with that kind of text, I mean, you're a hypocrite, a liar, maybe a sociopath, and you should, at the very least, you're an incredibly arrogant person if you're holding the Bible while simultaneously saying that we should abandon people in the society to their own will and that that's the best way to move things forward. I mean, I think best case scenario, you're probably just willfully ignorant. If you're saying to people who don't have access to resources, who don't have access to wealthy contacts, who don't have access to the opportunities that are given to you, I think at this stage in the game, you can pretty much say straight that if you're telling those people that the solution is to just try harder, I mean, I think you're at best just willfully ignorant. And the coronavirus reveals it, right? The coronavirus reveals it. You're telling people who work 2 jobs, who have no savings, who are living paycheck to paycheck, to pay $400 for a bottle of hand sanitizer. Like, are you insane? Like, I think you are, actually. Like, I think you actually have something wrong in your brain. If you actually believe that that's how things should go. Like, seek medical help. I think there's something wrong with you. And I'm not trying to be facetious with that. I think that this should become a major talking point for people on the left. I think we should start saying to people on the right, seek medical help. Like, seek psychological help. Seek help from a mental health professional. If you are saying that we should be abandoning people while simultaneously believing that that is a holy thing to do, I think there's something wrong with your brain and that you should probably seek professional help to rectify, like, what the hell is that? Imagine the massive harm that you are causing to the people around you with that belief system. What happens when one of your friends, like, if you had a friend who was walking around saying, yep, we're just going to abandon everybody, it's up to the individual, all that kind of stuff, you know for a fact that that's a friend who will abandon you the second you're in crisis. They're not going to help you, right? And what that means is that they're not your friend, right? You're just there for their entertainment and convenience. And if they do suddenly, like, if there is a crisis or if there is a problem and suddenly they do drop everything and come and help you, then you kind of get to look at them and be like, what the hell are you doing here, bud? Like, thank you. I'm glad that you abandoned all of your ideological bullshit and you abandoned this whole concept of rugged individualism and abandoning everybody. And you decided to actually come onto the side of righteousness and justice and say, yeah, we should be helping each other. Yeah, we should be doing what we can to aid and assist everybody every chance we get, right? There are people in states of weaknesses. We should create structural support systems in order to help, absolutely. But that's what you should be saying to them. Like, why are you espousing this doctrine of chaos, death, and destruction, and yet the second there's actually a meaningful crisis, you abandon it? Like, why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting the time of everybody else around you? why don't you wise up and actually try to help people around you? And one thing I struggle with a lot, and this is a personal struggle for me. I want to be helping more people around me, but I don't really have the resources to be able to do it. And anytime I spend money on something like a dinner out or a bottle of alcohol or something like that, it makes me feel a little bit guilty, because I know that is money that could be used for other people, to help other people. And I struggle with this concept of, but I live paycheck to paycheck. I barely have the resources to be able to get through, and spending my whole life in a job that I don't hate my job. I actually find myself to be quite fortunate. I work in a toy store, hence my name. And I feel blessed that I have that opportunity to be able to spend most of my time getting toys into the hands of kids. There are millions of people who don't have that opportunity, who are working in much worse conditions. And I want to do something to help them, but I mean, what can I do? Most of my money goes to rent and food in the first place. And when I can scrape together a little bit of capital for something nice for myself, then I take that opportunity and I do it. Because I want to help more, but I feel so tied and I feel so helpless, which is why I do these recordings and why I'm putting them out there, because I think that there are millions of people who feel the way that I feel. I think that there are millions and millions of people who feel the way that I do, who want to be helping the people around them, who want to be doing better for the people around them, who want the systems of support to be more established, who want to remove the bigotry that surrounds ideas like poverty, to remove the bigotry of the upper classes against the lower classes, that if you are living in poverty, it is not because of some kind of moral or individual failing, that you are suffering from a systemic failure in your society. If you have to work 2 jobs in order to barely get by, that's a systemic failure of the society around you. It's structural, it's by design, and the people who defend it are abhorrent. I don't think it's wrong to say that the people who defend a system that impoverishes people are abhorrent. Well, on that note, I think that's the end of me. Hope you guys are having a good time out there. Enjoy the time you've got. Love y'all.